There's an oil called galbanum. I don't know if you know that one, Lisa. Have you ever worked with that one?
No, I don't think so.
Well, you're in for a treat. It's an amazing oil, especially again, if we want to be doing any kind of work where we are straddling these two worlds. So, galbanum is an oil that is very much used for psychopomp work. So, for doing spirit rescue work, for mediumship, it's very powerful for that. Um, what it does is it opens portals. So, again, you would set the intention for that, but it will open portals up to help you begin to have conversations with those across the threshold. So that is like its number one PowerPoint that you would use it for. It also enhances within us a kind of dreamy state. And again, that really helps because it knocks us out of that hard, rational thinking that we're all locked in on a day-to-day basis. So it kind of puts us into that kind of slightly dreamy state, when you just wake up in the morning and you're kind of a bit in both worlds again. And you often have, good thoughts, realizations. Well, galbanum will do that for you. It's very good if we are doing spirit rescue work with, if we're trying to help somebody who is across the other side of the veil, who has had a shocked transition. So perhaps somebody who's been in a devastating accident and is still recovering, but on the other side. So it's a very gentle oil for offering a very healing connection to someone who may be in that state. It's also an oil, again, that we use to reveal secrets. And, so many of us now do ancestral healing work. And this is really powerful for these times as well. I know I don't even need to explain that to everyone listening, but along ancestral lines, there have often been secrets that have been kept for years and years and years. And galbanum is a wonderful oil for just revealing what these secrets may be, and then for healing any soul wounds that have come along as a result of that. So that is another oil that I would really, really recommend trying and doing some work with.
Perfect. All right. And I Googled it while you were talking just to get the spelling, because I know people watching this are going to be, how do we spell that? So it's Galbanum, folks.
Exactly. Perfect. Spot on.
So what are some others?
Okay, another great oil is mugwort. Are you familiar with mugwort?
Yes, that one I know. Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, that's a very interesting oil because in Europe, it's traditionally been the oil of the wise women and the oils associated with witchcraft, but kind of not in a frightening and demonic way, but the wise woman practicing healing and having a knowingness. It's very connected with crone energy. So mugwort has a wonderful oil that comes from the roots, the stalks and the leaves. Smells very powerful. And it's very good for working again in spirit release work. If there is somebody across the veil who has an attachment to something or someone that needs to be released. So again, you would go through the motions of meditation, a small amount on the hands, either using the third eye or the heart to reach out and help to release that attachment. Because, of course, if there is an attachment preventing the spirit from moving on into the light, well, then that is maybe a bad place to be in, a difficult place to be in. So if we can be helping with mugwort, that is a great act of service to be able to offer. So I would say mugwort is very interesting. And what is even better, Lisa, is if you can make your own, because if we can make our own sacred oils, they have an especially powerful affinity with our own field. So I don't know what it's like where you live, but where I live in the middle of nowhere in the southwest of England, and I'm surrounded by fields and woodlands, and the sea is not far away. But mugwort grows all over the place. So I go out and I pick the tender leaves and stems, and then I put them in an oil and leave them there for about 3 months. And then I put them outside to have a cycle of the moon to potentize them, and then they're ready for use. And it's a wonderful oil to be working with, certainly.
Okay, so here comes questions, of course. A, can we use dried mugwort? I live in the desert. There's nothing growing around here, but I do have a really great herbal store nearby, so I can get dried mugwort. And what kind of oil do we use?
Okay, this is fantastic, Lisa. You're 2 steps away from having the most powerful mugwort oil in the world. Go and get some dried some from your store, and then bring it home. Get a clean glass container and warm up. I recommend rapeseed oil. Do you have that? I'd warm it. Do you reckon you got that? Yes.
Yeah, I don't think they call it that in the States. I don't remember what it is called, but for anybody who doesn't recognize rapeseed oil, again, Google that and find the US version.
Yes, I know there will be. And if you can't, well, then use olive oil. That would be fine as well. Warm it up slightly and then pour it over the dried mugwort, and then screw up the jar, and then just shake it, keep it in the dark for 3 months or so, and then you will have something really good. Then strain it, get rid of all the leaves that, and you can put them in your garden, and then you will have your own mugwort oil, which will be really powerful.
Perfect. Wonderful. Now, I know that mugwort specifically, it comes with, I don't want to say cautions because that's a strong word, but it's not something to play around with. Is that accurate? If you're going to use mugwort, you better be really clear on your intentions. Is that accurate?
Yes. I would say so. And I would certainly never use it internally either. And with all the sacred oils, none of them are ever taken internally. They're just used in these tiny quantities on the skin. In fact, it's a bit like homeopathy. Less is more. We're just using it for the frequency, not even for the smell, really. So mugwort, yes, mugwort is a wonderful herbal friend to us, very powerful, but it does hold a lot of light and it does hold a lot of dark. So you're absolutely right, Lisa, when you say that our intention needs to be very clear. So we need to, as I was saying earlier, we need to go in with reverence when we start to work with the oil. We respect it for all its qualities. We come and ask its permission to work with it before we do anything, and then set that intention really clearly. I have a little sort of blessing that I sometimes use. Shall I just tell you? It's a little intention I would use.
Yes, please, absolutely.
So before I start my work, I will always work on my breathing. I won't do that now because it will take forever. I do kind of about between 50 and 60 very deep breaths to attune myself. So that takes a little while. And then I will just set the intention. We ask that our work is aligned with the highest good of all, and that the soul of any that we work with across the veil be filled with love and light and eternal transfiguration. So that would be always something that I would start a session with. And then at the end, of course, always give thanks, and always remember to come home properly. That is really important when we've been across the veil, because the energies over there are so different. Over there, I mean, it is all that's a figurative way of speaking, but you know what I mean. Higher, they are quite ecstatic, quite chaotic often, and it's fantastic being there. You feel amazing, but you have to remember that to come back safely again, you need to really ground, and you need to really focus on that, because otherwise you will go out of kilter, out of balance with your own energy system. So I will always withdraw intentionally. I will actually say I am now withdrawing. I step back into my own body, into my own dimension. I will make sure that I bring nothing back with me. I took nothing in, I take nothing back with me. I will then cleanse. I'll do that physically, maybe have a shower or walk in nature, do something, maybe some drumming, something physical, ground myself again really deeply, and make sure that I realign and rebalance. If I'm still feeling a little bit kind of that I haven't fully returned, I'll work with patchouli oil. And that is another one. Do you have any of that, Lisa?
I do. And I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because it felt like there's got to be some oil that we can use to sort of bring us back into the physical. And patchouli really does have that earthy quality. So I can see how that would be a really good grounding oil.
It does. You see, traditionally, it's always been used to bring us back into our bodies. And I think it's so interesting that, you know, when we go back, think back to the 1960s and the era of flower power and the hippies and all of that, they loved patchouli, and they, you know, their Afghan coats just smelt of patchouli as well as the goats. But it was um, it's no coincidence, I think, that they loved patchouli as much, because they were exploring, you know, psychedelics and expanding consciousness, and this was going on so much that they did need something to pull them back in their bodies. So patchouli was used by the sacred men and women for centuries to do this after they've been out visiting other realms in meditation or whatever. And patchouli is superb for just bringing us back home again. So I work with many students and teach them how to work the sacred oils. And I make sure that I always have patchouli with me, just to make sure I can bring people back down into their bodies again, you know, really powerfully when we need to at the end of a session.
Thanks for listening. Check out Castle Gate, a novel based on my own ancestral healing journey, at lisabonis.com. In 1921, 4 men set off from Scotland to the United States. Will Garrock, his brother Pete, his son Willie, and his nephew Thomas, all coal miners. They left behind the miners' rows and the nationwide mining strike with its soup kitchens. Their destination was Castlegate, Utah, where they had kin to welcome them before sending for their wives and children. They prospered in America, working in one of the finest mines in Utah. Until that tragic day, March 8th, 1924. Disaster struck. 3 explosions, trapping 171 men inside. Rescue crews worked tirelessly for days, but sadly, they could not save a soul. Women were widowed and children were orphaned, and some never recovered from their broken hearts. Castlegate is the true and tragic saga of a Scottish family whose dreams of finding their fortunes in the bountiful coal mines of Castlegate, Utah during the Prohibition era explode in one of the most devastating mine disasters in American history. Learn more at lisabonnace.com.